Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive. Today, we're tackling one of the most famous or infamous figures in the Bible, Samson. But we're going beyond those Sunday school stories, folks. We're lucky enough to have what we think is a first-hand account from the big guy himself.
It's an incredible find. Talk about getting inside the mind of a legend. This isn't just stories passed down. It's raw, it's emotional, it's Samson unfiltered.
And it all starts with, well, his birth. This wasn't your average arrival, was it? We're talking divine intervention right from the get-go.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about being born for greatness. The angel of the Lord appearing to Samson's parents. It sets the stage for an extraordinary life, wouldn't you say? And the prophecy itself. This child was destined to be a Nazirite. This is huge.
Okay, for those of us who slept through that part of Sunday school, break it down for us. What does it actually mean to be a Nazirite? It's not just like being a really good guy, right?
Right? It's way more intense than that. We're talking strict vows, no cutting your hair, no grapes or wine, and absolutely zero contact with the dead. Imagine the discipline that takes.
Wow. No wonder his parents were shocked. It makes you wonder, though, how does a kid even grow up with those kinds of restrictions? How does that shape a person?
Well, to understand Samson, we have to understand the significance of Nazirites in that time. This wasn't just a personal choice. It was a deeply rooted social and religious commitment. Nazirites were set apart, literally consecrated to God. They were living embodiments of piety.
So it wasn't just about Samson. It was about something bigger.
Exactly. These vows, they weren't taken lightly. They represented a covenant with God, a direct link to the divine. And for Samson, it wasn't a choice. It was his destiny from the moment he was born. That's a heavy burden to carry.
You can say that again. Talk about pressure. And yet, even with this divine calling, he's still human, isn't he? We see him struggle. We see him make mistakes. He's this fascinating mix of strength and vulnerability.
And that's what makes his story so compelling. He's chosen, yes, but he's also flawed. And as we'll see, those flaws have some pretty dramatic consequences.
So we've got Samson, this walking contradiction,
Yeah.
right? Chosen by God, bound by these incredible vows, and yet,
Human. Still human.
exactly. And nothing screams human, like falling head over heels in love, even if it means breaking all the rules. And boy, does Samson break the rules.
He really does. And this is where his story takes that turn from interesting to like, whoa, did that just happen? Samson falls for a Philistine woman.
You almost feel bad for his parents. Son, really, of all the women.
No.
Wasn't just a cultural difference, was it?
Oh, no, this was a big deal. We're talking about the sworn enemies of the Israelites. This wasn't just a personal choice. It had huge religious and political implications. Imagine the tension.
And it's right here, in the vineyards of Timnah, of all places. Talk about irony. Samson sees this woman, and that's it. He's smitten.
And of course, he has to have her. Never mind that his Nazirite vows practically forbid it. This is Samson. Remember, he gets what he wants.
And that sets off this chain of events, this domino effect that's just wild. The wedding, that riddle, and we talk about awkward family gatherings, right?
Right.
And then, of course, the betrayal.
It's almost Shakespearean, isn't it? The way it all unfolds. This cycle of revenge. Samson, his wife, her family, the Philistines, it just keeps escalating.
Makes you wonder, could it have gone any other way back then? That whole eye for an eye mentality?
It was a different time, that's for sure. Violence was so ingrained in their society. It makes you think about Samson's role in all of this. Was he a product of his environment? Or was it something more, maybe a battle within himself?
Right, like this inner struggle between who he is and who he's supposed to be. We'll dive more into that.
Yeah.
So last we left our hero, he was heartbroken, betrayed, and probably ready to unleash some serious fury on anyone who crossed him.
Yeah, not exactly the picture of a righteous judge, huh? But that's where we pick up. Samson, the heartbroken, is about to become Samson, the judge of Israel.
Which, to be fair, sounds a lot cooler than it probably was. I mean, this isn't exactly a courtroom drama. So what did it actually mean to be a judge back then?
Think less gavel-wielding and more, well, more like a divinely appointed warrior king kind of thing. They were leaders, military strategists called upon by God to protect the Israelites from, well, pretty much everyone who wanted a piece of them.
And Samson, with his, shall we say, unique skill set, he fit the bill.
Oh, absolutely. This was a guy who fought lions barehanded,
Wow.
and won. Not to mention the whole slaying 1,000 Philistines with a donkey jawbone incident. We can all agree, pretty effective leadership, right?
Yeah, not your average day at the office.
Okay.
But it's those stories, those epic feats of strength that everyone remembers about Samson. And it kind of overshadows the fact that, well, he wasn't exactly perfect.
That's the fascinating thing about him, isn't it? He's this walking contradiction. capable of extraordinary things, yet still prone to, let's say, very human failings.
And nowhere is that more obvious than in his relationship with Delilah. Because
Yeah.
here we go again, right? Another woman, another lapse in judgment.
It's almost painful to watch, isn't it? He repeats the same mistakes, falls into the same traps. You want to shake him and say, Samson, come on, you know better than this.
It's like that old saying, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice.
Mm.
Well, you know the rest. But with Samson, it's like, fool me a dozen times and I'll still manage to fall for it.
Tragic, really.
Yeah.
Because with Delilah, it's not just his heart on the line, it's everything. His strength, his calling, his very identity as a Nazirite, and he just gives it all away.
It's that betrayal that hits the hardest, I think. Not just because she tricks him, but because it reveals just how deeply human, how flawed he really is. Even with all that power, he couldn't escape his own weaknesses.
It's a reminder that true strength, the kind that matters, isn't just about physical power. It's about wisdom, self-control, knowing your own limits. And Samson, well, he learned that the hard way.
He did. But even in defeat, even when he's blinded, imprisoned, stripped of everything, he finds a way to, well, to be Samson one last time.
That final act in the Temple of Dagon, it's something else. You can almost feel the weight of it, the desperation, the defiance, maybe even a touch of, dare I say, redemption.
It's the kind of ending that stays with you, You're left wondering, was it an act of a desperate man or a final heroic sacrifice?
And that's the beauty of Samson's story, isn't it? It doesn't give us easy answers. It's messy, it's complicated, it's tragic and triumphant all at once.
Just like life itself. Well, folks, there you have it. Samson, the warrior, the lover, the judge, the flawed hero. We hope this deep dive into his story has given you something to think about. What would you have done in his place? How do you reconcile strength and weakness, faith and doubt in your own life?
It's a question worth pondering, that's for sure, and one that continues to resonate even thousands of years after Samson walked the earth.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives going.